Hello, everyone. Today I have the guinea pig with me. Finally, people have been waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting for him to come on. But I want to preface this by saying Brian and I have been married 20 years. When I first met him, his A1C was 16. It was out of control. Fast forward to 2020, I started keto, and we'll have to get from him what made him start, but he didn't right away. It was shortly after. And at that point, his A1C was 7.9. So, Brian, what made you even want to start on keto?
I was sitting around after not losing my job, having to retire because I broke both my feet and my left wrist, and I had to spend 3 months on the couch. That was tough because I couldn't walk, couldn't do anything, couldn't use my left hand. She had to feed me, not feed me, but she had to cut my meat up on the plate and everything else for me. And then I went outside with Max, and him and I would sit on the porch on the little deck that we had, stairs coming off the kitchen, and he'd be out sunning himself, and I'd be falling asleep because I was depressed. And I mean, I was totally depressed between not having to go back to work, which I really loved my job. I hated to leave it. I took me 6 months to get over that, but she started eating this way, and she felt better. And she was saying to get rid of all her stuff, pains, aches, and everything else. And I decided, what the heck, I got nothing to lose, so I ended up joining her. Probably about 3 weeks later, I wasn't sitting out on the stoop anymore taking a nap. I actually felt better. The depression went away. I got my sorry butt up, and I started doing things again. I went back to pretty much normal life as much as I could with the issues I had. It was probably toughest time in my life just about that I've gone through, having to sit around not doing anything, having anybody take care of me. I even had my cousin come over who's my size, a lot older than me. He had to carry me out the stairs to the car to go to doctor's appointments because I couldn't even get down the stairs, couldn't even walk.
No, he couldn't put any weight at all on his right foot. He had broken his right heel, his left ankle, and his left wrist in a 10-foot fall at our house. And I went out. He was cutting down some tree pieces, limbs that were covering our one window in our dining room. And he decided he was going after the big guy. And I asked him, I said, can I help you? He said, no, because if anything falls, I don't want you to get hurt. Go back in the house.
If anybody knows the Looney Tunes out there, I was the Wile E. Coyote moment. I hit the ground, poof, a little puff of dirt went up, and I didn't move. It was pretty sad. But that's what got me onto this, and it does work. I mean, it's unreal. I've been a type 1 diabetic since I was 2 years old. I am now 62, so it's been a long time. My doctors told me I wouldn't make it past 40. Lo and behold, here I am. But times have changed, medications change, and all kinds of things for the better. It's been kind of tough during my life. I've had some issues. I've had laser surgery in both eyes more than once. I got sick one night about 3 o'clock in the morning. I got up, had to go to the bathroom. Felt fine, nothing wrong. Went to the bathroom, did my thing, came out the door. As soon as I hit the door, went back in, spent the night paying homage to the toilet bowl. And that was for the whole day. She went to work, came back home. I was out of it so bad. I couldn't get enough water in me and anything else. She called 911, hit the ambulance, got to the hospital. By the time I got there, my sugars were over 1,000. And I was actually coherent, talking to the nurses in the ICU. And they couldn't believe I was actually awake and speaking to them and answering questions. They were amazed. And that was partially because I think that during the course of the heaving, my insulin pump, which is attached to me in my stomach area, actually popped off. It wasn't off my body, but it came out enough that I wasn't getting any insulin. So my sugars just went up. And I felt so bad it wasn't funny.
People in the keto world get, especially when they talk about diabetes, they have such fear of ketosis versus ketoacidosis, and it's nothing in comparison. He went through a bout of ketoacidosis then, and it was just horrible. He was in, like you said, ICU for 3 or 4 days,
Yeah.
and blood sugar's up over 1,000. They said, "I can't believe you're even awake." He should have been in a coma for sure. And it was really scary.
It was brutal. I had lesions in my mouth where taking a sip of water made me cry. I couldn't do it. I couldn't drink it. It hurt that bad. And they'd give me some pink liquid to drink before I could have anything to get it to go down. That's about as bad as it gets. And I don't want to go back there and do that again ever. I mean, I've heard people, the nurses are telling me that there's certain people that come back at least twice a year in the same boat. And I'm like, why would you not learn from the first time around? It's that bad. It's not fun. But, for most of my life, I've been pretty good. It's my sugar's been up, and she said it was 17, about 17 we met. I can tell you it's probably higher than that. It's most of my life because I didn't exactly do what I should have. I was eating everything in the world, what I wanted to do, when I wanted to do it. On the flip side of that, part of the reason why I think I'm still here is because I was very active as a kid growing up, and as a teenager and a young adult. I would go outside and play. Of course, we didn't have computers. We didn't have TV games, not for a while. We spent that day outside, sun up till sundown. The lights came on. The old story is lights come on, get your butt in the house. That was it. And, I was very busy as a kid. And when I grew up and I was in high school, I still did things. I had part-time jobs at night. And when I got graduated, I worked second shift. So during the daytime, I'd go out. I'd ride my bike for 20 miles a day. I was a 10-speed back then, the old kind. I'd go play golf, or I'd just drive around with my car and listen to music and take my cameras out, go take pictures. But I would play golf on the weekends with my parents, my father, and some uncles at the lake we had. We just went everywhere. I kept very busy. I've been very fortunate, very blessed throughout my life. I've been, I was not quite born with that silver spoon at my butt, but pretty close. My parents did everything for us.
Silver spoon in your mouth.
Whatever. But I pretty much, my parents did everything they could with us for vacations. They could take us places around, saw the country. Disney quite a few times. Matter of fact, that gave me a very bad habit. My previous wife and I were going twice a year and taking my daughter there. First time we took our daughter there was, she was young, and we walked through the gates, and there was a parade, and lo and behold, she thought the parade was for her. Unfortunately, it wasn't, but it just timed out that way. But it's been very good. But now with this, it's even better because I'm not don't have the pain. I used to take blood pressure medication. It's gone. I had some spells, so I was getting up in the morning, and I was really dizzy. I sit up, and it was like boom, back down. I had to lay down because I couldn't stand up. Everything was going in circles.
His blood pressure
my
gone
blood
too
pressure
low.
Dropped. I had to stop taking the pills, which is part of what they say can work, and it does. As a matter of fact, she doesn't take them either. But the only things I take for medication now is baclofen for my head. I have cervical dystonia. It's a little tough. It's I can handle it. I pretty much put it aside, and I don't let things get to me. I do things, and I keep doing things. Even if I do something and it affects me a little bit, I step back, take a break, go back to it later on. It's that simple. But I refuse to give in. My doctors think I'm the greatest patient in the world because they wish everybody was like me. Not to think about it, just go out and do what you got to do and get it done. It's a hard issue though. My neck twitches. I can't keep my eye open at times. It's when I walk, I pretty much have my hand on my head because I hold it still to keep the eyes open and walk straight. And she keeps telling me, "Come on, catch up," and I keep running after her. It's like I'm trying. And that was a nightmare surgery. I mean, I did that in 2019. I actually have 2 bumps in my head where they put the wires into my brain, which you don't feel that there's no pain.
Yeah, there's
two little knobs
right here.
Yeah.
There's leads that go in behind his ear that connect to the battery in his chest.
In the meantime, I had to be awake for most of that. So I was out of it, but I was awake. In the middle of the surgery, I asked the doctors, they were moving around. I said, "Can you do me a favor?" There was a big light above my head. And I said, you do me a favor? And the doctor went, what? And I said, could you step aside, turn the lights on, turn the lights up so I can work my tan? Everybody in the operating room just lost it. They were all cracking up. Here I am in the middle of a head surgery and brain surgery, and I'm cracking jokes. That's pretty much me in a nutshell. I'm a nut, and that proves it. But,
hence guinea pig.
Guinea pig. Guinea pig. Squeak, squeak.
Let's say hi to people in the chat. Duh. This is Lynn. You met her in Indiana.
Yep. Hi, Lynn.
Wouldn't have missed this for anything. And Sherry, we met her in Columbus, sitting out on my mom's patio, joining you all. Brenda Jones, hello. I move this cursor down. We're doing this on my laptop that I don't usually do. So this is Karen, Low Carb Spin, that Deb and I met in Hack Your Health. Thanks for sharing your story, Brian. Lisa Ortega. Hi, Lisa. We've met her on several occasions. What an inspirational story. Thanks for sharing, Brian. He is, he's my why, you know. I say it all the time. He handles everything way better than I would. When he was first diagnosed with dystonia, God, I should have brought tissues with me. I told him if that was me, I would have lost my mind, because cervical dystonia has symptoms very similar to Parkinson's. Let's finish the chat real quick. There's Susie. Hi, Susie. Debbie. Where's Jerry? Why isn't he here? This is Joe. Hey, Joe. Yvonne, she was at Hack Your Health. I met her. And they're saying hi. Debbie is home. And it's great to keep a sense of humor in all this medical mess. You are not kidding. And he does, for the most part. He really does. He has his moments. He wouldn't be human if he didn't. There are moments where he just feels.
I lose it. We were probably about 2 months ago, maybe. I went to the bowling alley to go practice. For some reason, everything hit me all at once. I was up there to go throw a ball. I threw it. I came back down, sat down. I started crying. She's like, what's the matter? And I said, I just lost it. I mean, completely lost it. I was in tears. It took me about 10 minutes to regain myself. It does happen. I am human, and it's not often. It's probably about maybe once a year. It's like my little world crashes in on me, and it's like, hello, I'm here. Welcome to the world. And it's like, I don't want to deal with it. It just breaks me down. But I got right back up, started bowling again, and it went away after about 20 minutes. I was back to normal. But I am human, and it shows. But as for dealing with it, it's I've accepted it, and that's the biggest thing, is accepting what you have and carrying on with life. It's nobody's fault. Nobody did this to me. Nobody had anything to do with anything, and it's just happening. So I don't put the blame on anybody. And this is how I go about life. It's just move on and keep going. Don't look back. There are times I do look back a little bit, because there are things I do miss. One of them is I do drive, and it's not often, but I used to live in the car. I used to drive all the time. I was a mailman for 30 years, driving a truck around, had 600 customers. I had a ball at work. I was meant for that job. I said that about 6 years old. I was outside one day, and I looked at my parents. I said, that's what I want to do for a living. I'll be done. It's what I did for a living.
You wanted to be a mailman.
Yeah, I wanted to be a mailman. It took me a while, but I got there. And I really loved the job. It's like they say, you go to work. If you love your job and you go, it's not like going to work. It wasn't. For me, it never was. It didn't matter how long I was out there, how long it took me. I got it done. I had a ball. My customers were family to me. Not all of them, but most of them. They all knew me. If I didn't show up one day, they all asked where I was, and it happened. I got sick. So simple as that. I'm a human. I got sick. But that's part of the reason why I hated leaving it. But as for dealing with this, it's just the way it is. If more people would understand the way they are and stop looking at it and feeling sorry for themselves, and just getting up and moving out and doing what you got to do to move on, it'd be a better world.
You're moving out?
I'm moving out.
You're moving out?
I'll move out. See ya. Bye. Good place to give you notice.
James says hi. Dustin is here. He said, good evening, Brian and Cindy, sending love and hugs. And those are some good hugs. Karen said she is driving. Debbie says, Jerry is driving and said hi to you, Brian, and everyone as well. And then just saying hi to everyone else. Jeff, hello. What an excellent surprise. You're not kidding. Jeff, we met him and he was just on a couple weeks ago on our live stream, or last week. Time is getting away from me. And when we were at the Columbus meetup that Don had organized, he came and sought Brian out. It's like, he said, I want to see the guinea pig. And they sat there and talked for quite a while. It was really nice. And it really made him feel good. So, Jeff, thank you for that.
Yep, we have a puppy.
Max is going to be probably driving us nuts. But yeah, he hasn't gone out for his walk yet. So if he starts barking, we will pick him up.
It's almost that time.
Take him outside. It's okay.
It's getting close.
So just give it to him.
Nah, it's too early. He'll live.
So anyway, what is it? Back to keto for a minute. What has your A1C been, and how low has it gotten?
The A1C at the moment is 6.4. It's probably going to go up a little bit because I'm having an issue with actually this time frame of night. I'm trying to get it down. It keeps going up to 180. Was going over 200, so I'm back down a little bit. But
adjust your numbers.
I've been adjusting. It just takes time. Lowest I got was 6.1, and my doctor and I have gone head to head a couple of times. She looks at me. She says, I don't want you going past 6.4. And I looked at her and I said, why not? I said, if you can have a normal A1C, why can't I? And she goes, well, you can. I said, not if you're going to keep me at 6.4. I said, yours is lower than that. Mine should be lower. I can eat normally. I don't need to eat. My doctor back in New Hampshire, before we left, him and I were really going at it because his idea was, you need the carbs. You need the carbs. And I kept telling him, no, I don't. I don't know what he didn't understand, because when you eat carbs, they basically, as a diabetic or anybody, they turn into sugar. Sugar raises your blood sugar. Hello, it doesn't take an idiot to figure this out. And my total carbage for a day lately has been probably about 10, if that, because there's some days I'm not doing any. It's just we eat the bacon, eggs, meat, and that's it. But I am human. I do go out and we do have, I do eat something that's not right. And it's because I want to, not because, I have to. I just that time I want it. And it's not often. It's very rare. I did it the other night. Matter of fact, it was really bad. I did it, I think it was Wednesday night. I had to use about 90 carbs, which is unusual for me for one meal. And I was like, holy mackerel. But it was good. Yeah, that was the onion soup, the French onion soup I had.
Oh, he went nuts.
And I had a salad and a few other things, but it was good. But my sugars never went over 100 because I had somewhat of a control of it for the first time, and I didn't feel that great. But that one time, it felt good. It tasted good. But will I do it again? It won't be for a while. But like I said, we are human. We do go out and we do mess up once in a while, but it's not often. And
I didn't.
No, she didn't that time. But she's, she has the treats all over the house. She has Chalk Zero.
Chalk Zero.
Because I've been a diabetic all my life, I've had sugar before. Don't get me wrong. My parents at Halloween, or Thanksgiving, or any of those days, I'd go through, but I wouldn't eat the sweets. Thanksgiving, I would go to people's houses and they'd have, because I didn't know about the sugar and stuff, we'd have peanut butter crackers, or they'd have, stuff like that to offset, instead of having a chocolate or the candies that were given to my sister. And if I got any of those, she got them all. So she got a double dose. Lucky her. But
not so much.
But that, back in the day, that was it. You didn't know any better. But for the most part, I'm pretty much trying to behave nowadays, and it works. And I'll tell you, if anybody out there doesn't think this will work for you, man, you got to give it a try. And if somebody needs help and they don't believe it, tell them to watch this live and show them it can be done.
Share it.
Share it, because there's a lot of people out there. You can tell them, but you can't let them. You can bring them the water, but you can't make them drink. We have quite a few people we know that are like that, and it's unfortunate because
we have family members, we have neighbors.
They're hurting, they're sore, they don't feel good, they have problems, and it's unbelievable because they believe in their doctors, and doctors are good, but they don't understand what they're actually doing sometimes because of the new way of thinking. And Dr. Berry's the one to follow, that's for sure. He's a nice guy. I met him a couple of times.
Yeah, he actually answered a question for you.
Yeah, he did.
Made you feel better about everything.
Yeah, I asked him one day, I said, let me ask you something. I said, because my sugars go up out of nowhere and I'm not eating anything wrong. I said, why is this? And his flat out answer was, you're a type 1 diabetic. He says, it's going to happen. He says, you don't have to do anything. It's just going to happen. The body isn't perfect and nobody knows quite how it all works. But lucky me, I get those days where I can go up and not come down, but they don't happen so often anymore. It's very rare. It's very rare. So,
let's face it, 60 years as a type 1 diabetic is a long time. It's a very long time. And the minor things that you've had gone wrong. I mean, a lot of people would have lost a foot or been blind by now,
pretty
or
much.
A lot of different things, and kidneys fail and heart trouble and so many things that can happen with diabetes, and you are in really good health.
Yeah, they were all happy with the way I have. My system's working pretty good. Like I said, I've been very blessed to be this long and in this good of a shape. Even if I am a little run down, a few problems here and there, but like I said, I just keep moving. It's the only way to do it is get up and move. Just keep busy.
And he does. Ever since I've known him, the only time he didn't is when he was hurt and he couldn't. And that was, like he said, that was driving him crazy. And we made it work. We found ways for him to do things. But I've never known him to just sit still and do nothing. He would tire me out watching him. He'd go to work and he'd come home and he'd keep busy doing this or this or this. And I'd be like, dang, dude, don't you ever stop. It's like ADHD all over the place, but he has so much energy. It was like crazy. So when he went through his depression, and he never talked to me about it. That's the only issue I have with this man is this is the most talking he's done in front of me in 20 years. No, he's such a great person. And for this to be going on with him, it's just not fair. It's like, but it wouldn't be fair to anybody else either, because it's
life. I mean, it's life. Like I said, I've accepted it, and there's nothing I can do about it. So hope for the best that something will work. Maybe I'll lighten it up a little bit with stuff I'm eating and the way I'm eating or whatever, and try this new stuff that I got coming in that might help. I don't know. We'll see. It just it's guesswork. But yeah, I mean, back home was she's right. I never sat down. We had a pool in the backyard. The kids would come home from school. I grab them, take their shoes off, throw them in, clothes and all. I mean, it didn't matter to me. I mean, they all were like, oh, no. But once they got in the pool, they loved it.
Yep.
They absolutely loved it. I was a big kid at heart is what I was, still am. And actually miss that. That was fun back then. But the kids are all grown up now. They're all teenagers for the most part.
Teenagers, they're in their 20s.
Adults, yeah. They're all up there, so those days are gone. But we go back and see them once in a while.
Yes. But Lynn says your health is amazing. Alan, hello, Alan. Thank you for joining us. Brian, he says, Brian, you are doing great. Debbie says, the intricate work Brian does in spite of his dystonia is incredible. And I got to tell you, when he first was before he was even diagnosed with this dystonia, they said the symptoms are similar to Parkinson's. When you look up cervical dystonia, the first thing I saw, Parkinson's. He had an uncle that had Parkinson's, and I'm like, I freaked out. Like, what? And but I would watch him, and like even I mean, right now he makes pens and does all this stuff. He does a lot. But one time he was working on an electrical outlet right outside our side door on this little patio on a ladder. And I'm like at the dining room table, which you could see right through the window where he was through the door. And his head was not moving at all. He was so focused on what he was doing. There was no movement. It was incredible. But when he wasn't that focused, it's moving. And it was, the constant back then, it was constant. The surgery has done such a great thing for him. It's called deep brain stimulation surgery and it's controlled with an iPod. If he has to have an MRI done, that iPod has to get turned off. And the last time that happened, he had to ask for a wheelchair because he could not walk to get to the MRI place. And it was so horrifying to see it. It was just, oh my word, this is how advanced his dystonia has gotten and how much controlled it is through this surgery. It's just amazing what medicine can do.
Yeah, it's night and day.
It's just, oh my word, night and day.
I mean, the lady that shut it off looked at me. She says, "Well, can you walk down there?" I stood up and I said, "No, I couldn't do anything. I had to sit back down again." It wasn't that anything was going dizzy. It was my whole body just said, "Oh no, you're not." And my head went down on my shoulders. I was looking at the floor, and my feet and my hands didn't want to go together. It was
you were a teenager.
No, that's when we had the MRI done for the battery replacement.
Oh yeah, okay.
In my head, for my head, and it was tough.
Oh, when it got turned off, it was bad.
It was tough. No, I mean, my mother and I and my sister were in the car way back in my early teens, mid-teens. We got broadsided in a real bad fog, and my left side of my head hit the window on the side of the car. After that, I was walking around with my head on my shoulder, kind of like this, couldn't lift it off, and had to go and see a doctor in Concord, New Hampshire. Had this little mouse pad, little mouse, like we have mouses on the computers, and it would hum, and it would make a high pitch. And the idea was to calm myself down and shut it off and tone it down. And it took a little bit of doing. I got it done, but it went away after a while. And as years went by, it was, it's probably been doing it ever since. It was little by little, I'd have a little twitch. Didn't think anything of it. I just like, all right. And as she saw, what year was that? 16, 17?
What's that? When you were diagnosed?
Just about then. We had somebody over. The other grandson that we don't see often.
Chase.
Him and his father and mother came over, and my head really went down. I was playing horseshoes, and I couldn't keep the head from twitching, and that's pretty much when it started again. But before that, it was probably about once every 6 months, maybe if that, last about 2 days and go away. So it was like, all right.
But now,
so I probably had this all my life, but
yes,
was it caused from the accident? I don't know.
Because when I met him, when I met him, I would notice that every time he would look to one direction or the other, I can't remember which way, it would be like a robotic motion. It'd be like, do, 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 do. And I asked him about it. He said, "Oh, it just happens." And when we started seeing neurology after he was diagnosed with cervical dystonia, we mentioned the accident. We said, could that have been the cause, the underlying issue for this to show its ugly face now? Because it is a progressive thing. And they said it is quite possible. So you just never know. I mean, back then there were no seatbelts, especially in the back seat. And he was on one end of the car and went to the other one. It got broadsided. So it's horrifying.
So I tell her, smack me in the right side of the head, straighten me out.
I will. Karen says, "I just love your spirit. I can't wait to meet you too. I can totally see why you and Cindy are together. I need tissues." Yeah, me too. I didn't catch the very beginning. How common is this disease? I've never heard of it before meeting y'all.
There's a lot of people that are getting the surgery for this. It's amazing. If you look up online under DBS, and there's a whole page for it, and there's a bunch of people that are always asking, oh, how do you do it? What goes through it? What do I have to do? And there's a lot that you have to do beforehand. You've got to go through a test, a lot of tests. The doctor's got to meet you and explain to you what's going on. In my case, it was a complete scared the heck out of me. Matter of fact, my doctor, when we were all done and everything was over with, he said I was the toughest guy in the world to do it. If he can do me, he can do anybody, because I was that tough. When I heard the word cut into my head and my brain,
And
I was
awake.
Like, and awake, I was like, oh my word. I'm like, I don't know how I can do this. I really don't know how I can do this. And I'll be honest with you, I sat there probably about 2 weeks before it was going on, and I really prayed like there was no tomorrow. And I got up the day of the surgery, and she looked at me. She says, you ready for this? And I kind of looked at her, and I was kind of cool, collected. And I went, yeah, let's go. Let's get this done. It was amazing. And I hate needles. I hate needles.
He's had to do his own shots. He cannot stand to even get blood work done. He has to lie down. If he has anything, he will not get shots. Flu shots. I had to bribe him to get the C vaccines. And I mean, there's a story behind that. Let me tell you. We got the first two and the first booster. Nope, the booster was here. The first two vaccines at a Walgreens. Hey, look at my computer does. That's awesome. Anyway, they only had a little room. It was at a Walgreens. They only had a little room to take you back to give you a shot. He was like, I got to lay down. They said, it's the floor. They gave him his shot, and he literally laid down on the floor 5 minutes. I kid you not. People are waiting to get their shots, and he said, I can't.
I can't do it. I couldn't do it.
No, this thing is crazy. So it's he hates them. So when he told me he was ready for this surgery, where they're going to drill holes in his head to put this crown on that gets attached to this pole to do this surgery, I was like, who is this guy that he's ready to have this done? Because I wouldn't have been. I'm not afraid of anything much. And
I'll tell you that they put that crown on. It hurt. Yeah, it hurt. They put 4 pins, one in front, back, each side, so that they could basically put my head on a metal bar behind me, so that I would sit still and not move. As for the drilling of the holes in my head, oh yeah, it was like it's like a hole saw. You can hear the go in there, and when they were all done, I could hear the staple going click, click, click on my head. I'm like, I had railroad tracks.
Throw somebody out here.
I had railroad tracks. I mean, it was unreal, but I was just
the doctor told him, you're not going to feel anything. You're going to hear stuff because your brain has no pain receptors.
None.
And he didn't. There was no pain there. It was crazy.
Matter of fact, they put in the lead on my right side, and one of the guys asked me, repeat the months after me, and I was sitting there and I went, okay. And I started saying, I was like, and that's exactly what it looked like and sounded like. So he said, hold on. They pulled it out, put it back in. I was back to normal. The funnier thing was, she can explain to you what it was when we were sitting in a chair the first time and turned the system on. Oh, my word. If anybody remembers the old commercial for hotels where 2 doctors are there, one guy's in the operating chair, and they're talking about hotels, and the guy lifts his arm up, and they're working on doing the head surgery. That's pretty much what I look like, except for the arm going up. Whatever she wanted to do to me, she could have done to me and had it without problem.
I was sitting on this side of him. He was sitting there, and she's tweaking this whole system. And, beforehand, he's moving a little bit like this. Well, then his hand starts flopping around. Then his legs are moving. I'm like, wait a minute. Whoa, hold on. I said, are we fixing this and ruining everything else? I said, because that's not going to float. And it was crazy. She said, no, it won't get it back. And oh my word, but it
In
was
the meantime,
crazy. His arm was just out of control.
in the
and he had
meantime, I'm
no
laughing
control.
my total head off, going, "This is unreal." I'm sitting there going, my feet's tapping a mile a minute. My right arm's going up and down, my left arm's going sideways. And I'm sitting there going, "Woohoo!" Like, man, it was a freak show.
Yes. Modern medical technology is amazing. You're so right. It's incredible what they can do and what they have done for Brian. Hi, Stacy. Thank you for joining us. Evelyn, hello. Debbie, Lisa, saying hi to everybody. Lynn has a question, not related to health, but how did you get started doing the pens, Brian? That's some talent.
I've always been into woodworking. She can tell you there was a playhouse in our backyard that my daughter's mother and I had built from scratch. We were talking straight up. Put the walls on, put the tiles, put the ceiling on, put the shingles on. So I've always been into woodworking and stuff. I love it. The pen thing came up. There was a class at one of the woodworking stores. It was only $40, and it was on Saturdays, and I had time off. She looked at me while she was working at the store. She said, "You want to go for it?" And I went, back in the day, this is when I could drive. So I went out there. It was 4 hours long. You got the parts, you got everything, and all the tools were there for you to use. There were 4 of us in the class. This person went around one by one, looked at us, showed us what we were doing wrong, showed us how to do it. I came out of it. I made a pen. It was a little funky looking. She actually had it at the store.
And somebody bought it.
Somebody bought it. She called me up. I was at work driving a mail truck. She calls me up. She says, "This guy wants to buy the pen. What do you want to go for?" I said, "I don't know, $30, $20. I forgot what it was." He took it. I'm like,
that was a long time
holy
ago.
mackerel, that was the beginning of it. Since then, I've been working on that, never stopping. I've done letter openers, the pen, pencil, letter opener, and magnifying glass sets. I made her a cutting board, engraved it with a laser, which I have.
He's gonna go get it. It's really cool. I had seen a picture of one on one of those Facebook ads, and I took a picture. And I sent it to him. I said, "I want one of these." Here it comes. You want to get Max his treat while you're at, one of those things just came off. And here is the cutting board. Now, if you can see the detail on that. But yes, he's very handy. I think I'll keep him. But he's getting Max's treat, and then he'll be right back. Because Max is starting to give me problems over here. Let me set it over there. Here you go, Max. Come here. Here. I've been trying to pick him up, but he won't let me. So
yeah, so I do that, and I make little things on the laser. I'm trying to figure that out. I'm not a tech person, so computers give me a problem, but I'm actually starting to figure it out. She has a saying, and I'm technically working on it now. I'm gonna try and put it on a glass.
It's actually in the beginning of all my videos. Yeah. It says, "You matter today, tomorrow, and always."
So I'm going to try and etch that onto a glass, see if I can get that done. If that's the case, then maybe make a few and see if somebody wants to buy them and go from there.
Trying to think of things to do so when I can make some money through YouTube or whatever, which is
I made some earrings.
I could put some merchandise up.
Yeah, I made some earrings out of not a plastic. I forgot what they call that stuff. Acrylic. It's acrylic. I made her some heart-shaped ones. I made some pumpkin ones for Halloween. They look pretty good, but it's not the greatest. But I learn as I go. So
he's made coasters with lighthouses.
I have coasters
insignias in there.
On slate. They're on slate or they're in wood. With some trains, a couple things. I'm just playing around, trying to figure it out, basically. But that's pretty much it. Just keeps me out of trouble.
That's why we opened up an Etsy shop to try to put some of his stuff out there. Mainly, I've dabbled in some jewelry, which I have a lot of patriotic earrings on there right now for the 4th of July. But anyway, Jerry says, "Hey Brian, great testimony. Really enjoyed that. Been listening while driving."
Hey, Jerry.
Evelyn says, "You were laying down for the surgery, right?" Or do you remember?
No, I was sitting up in a chair. It was
what?
I
didn't know that.
It was a chair just like this. I was leaning back a little bit. And my head was attached to the pole in the back of the chair. It stood up. Wasn't that bad. Like I said, I didn't know. I knew where I was, but I didn't feel anything. I was in La La Land. Dang. I was in my happy world. She didn't even know that.
I didn't till just now. Thank goodness.
The worst thing about that though is when it was all over with, they took that crown off my head, and I can tell you it was the worst headache I've had in my life, and it only lasted probably about 12 hours, if that. And I've been told I'm very fortunate because a lot of people it goes on for weeks, and mine didn't last that long. I had a little bit of a headache after that for a day or two, but it wasn't bad. It was nothing. It was a minor thing.
That's impressive considering everything they had done. And then when we went in to have the system turned on, because he had to have that work done first, then he had to go in for another surgery and have the battery replacement done, or the battery placement done. And then we went back in to have it all turned on. We both walked out of there in tears because his head was not moving at all for the first time in 2 years.
Pretty much.
It was just, wow. We just looked at each other and was like total amazement, because it was, and they had asked us through all the meetings, and his parents were there at the time. They said, "Would you be okay with 50% improvement through this surgery?" And it was getting so bad. He said, yes. And after seeing him with it turned off, I would have to say there's at least 80% improvement from what it is with it off. It's horrifying. So, if you see somebody, basically, if you see somebody with, or know anybody with Parkinson's at the end stages, it just keeps getting progressively worse. This surgery was actually created for Parkinson's, and it's just incredible. And they said the doctors in Massachusetts where he had the surgery done, they said they've done a few for cervical dystonia. So the treatment as far as the programming was going to be different, and they were still learning that. It was just wow. That's all I can say.
Wow. The iPod that I have is actually it gives me control over the left side of my head and the right side of my head, depending on what side's bad. I can move the numbers up and down on either side a little bit at a time, and give it a couple of days to set in to see if it gets a little better.
Or if it's worse, he goes back.
Or if it gets worse, I go backwards. Mm-hmm. And I push it too far once. I had to go backwards. I was like, oops, not going to happen. It's a learning curve. You just go with it. And the only thing I have to do now is next time, probably in a couple of years from now, I'm going to have another surgery to replace the battery. They have rechargeable ones that are good to go now, but it's a different company. And don't have to go through the whole head thing, change the wires, but they replace the battery pack that I have with a different one. And from what I understand, there's a few more leads on it that could probably take care of a few more issues that I have going on. It's questionable, excuse me, but I'm willing for that to happen, see if it gets better, a little bit better as I go along, because if progressively it's going to get worse. There's no slowing it down. There's no stopping it. And as long as I keep going, I think I got a good chance of keeping going. A little bit of difficulty, but not being wheelchair bound. Basically, that's my goal, is not to be wheelchair bound or have anybody take care of me. I'm a very self-sufficient guy. I can do it all. If need be, I know how to cook. I can clean. I can do the laundry. I can do it all. I can go shopping.
I am a very lucky lady. Let me tell you.
She left last year to go someplace. I don't remember where it was for a weekend. She came home, the house was clean.
I'm like, I gotta leave more often.
She hates the dust. She can't stand the dust.
I'm allergic to dust. I'm allergic to dust.
I took care of it
when it's moving around. So Lisa says, "Oh wow, that's scary. You are one strong man, Brian. You have an amazing talent, Brian." And this is a question I just love. I mean, I like them all. Not a keto question, but how did you two meet? We met online.
Online.
And I we had, it was back then, it was called one-to-one-match.com. I had sent him a tease because I didn't pay into any service. It was like that, no. And then he signed up so he could respond with an email. I couldn't get it unless I signed up. And I really didn't want to do that. But that's the only way I could get his email. And which time we exchanged emails. This was in October of 2003. We exchanged emails. We both went on the service and turned it off, just canceled it so they wouldn't keep charging. And we talked every night for a week. And then he came out. I was living in Massachusetts, Western Mass, and he was from New Hampshire. That's where he lived. It was probably an hour, 45-minute drive.
About that. Close, sometimes two, depending on the weather
and traffic.
Yeah.
And he drove out to meet me in a public parking area.
McDonald's behind.
Yeah, behind a McDonald's. And we went to dinner at this Italian restaurant. But we sat there and we talked and we talked and we talked. And the waitress is like, "Wow," he says, "you guys must have known each other forever." It's like, "No, we just met." They were like, "No way, that's not right."
And let me tell you, I didn't, like I said, I didn't eat very well back in those days, but I had an appetite. And
that was her second date.
That second date. I had a major appetite.
So
and,
let me go back. The first date, it was so comfortable. Everything was so great with him that we went to my apartment where my son lived with me and his 2-month-old daughter and her mother. And the first thing he did was go pick up my granddaughter. And I'm like, men don't pick up babies. First off, most of them do not. I'm like, he's a keeper. I'm thinking to myself, he is a keeper. That first day. And we all talked for a little while, and my son really liked him. And that was big for me. So we left because I had to go back to my car, and he left. He says, "I will be back." He said it might be 2 weeks because his work schedule then was 6 days 1 week, 5 the next. And I got up to an email the next day. "I'm not waiting 2 weeks. We'll figure it out, but I'll be back this next weekend." And that weekend was sweetest day. He brought me a dozen multicolored roses. He came to my house and picked me up. We went to dinner at a seafood place. This is where he's talking appetite. I kid you not. His plate of food must have been this big, piled with seafood, fried or whatever. You know, keto was never even
captain's plate
thing back then. Huge plate. And I'm looking at him now. Here I am, 200 plus odd, whatever pounds, way up. And I'm like, where are you going to put all that food? Because he's never had a weight problem. It's like, it's not, never. He's always been little. And I'm like, there's no way you're going to get all that food in you. And man, when I say every morsel, everything went in him. I said, "Where'd you put it?" He says, "I have 2 stomachs." So
Three Stooges line.
Yeah, it was crazy. So, the following weekend I came out to New Hampshire and spent the weekend there with him and his daughter. Met his daughter for the first time and his parents. So it was very much a whirlwind. We didn't want to be that far apart. We were talking every night when we didn't see each other. And I moved.
When she came over that time for the first time.
Oh, yeah. He had cooked me a steak candlelit dinner.
Yep.
And I mean, all the fixings, candles on the table. His daughter was at his parents' house. a dozen long stem red roses up by the bed. It was like everything was just wow. He suckered me right in. But no, he you know, he just did it all. And it was just, after being through 2 bad marriages myself. He had been through 1 bad marriage, and then his second wife passed away of cancer, his daughter's mother. It was like, and I swore to myself I would never ever be unhappy with another man in my entire life. And other than a few little things, no, he's really a good guy. But we met, like I said, October of 03. I moved in with him and his daughter in November because I didn't want to do the commute, and I didn't want him to, and I didn't want to be away from him. He took me to Amish country in Pennsylvania in January of 04, rented a buggy ride. Go for it.
Well, we got on a buggy in one of those horse-drawn carriages, just like you see on TV, whole 9 yards. Got in, riding around. 2 other people in the front of us sitting down. We were in the back. They wouldn't shut up. I mean, we're talking an hour ride. Yak, question. Not a word. Shut up. I'm like, finally cut in. I looked at the driver. I asked the driver. I said, "You ever have a wedding on this? You ever use this for a wedding?" He's like, "No." And I went, "All right." I said, "You ever have anybody get engaged on one of these things?" He's like, "Nope." I said, "You are now." I got down on my hands and knees and did it in the back as good as I could. My word, I think I shocked the 2 in the front. They finally shut up.
So we got engaged in January, and then February 19th of 04. So from October to February, we got married in his parents' living room in front of the fireplace by a justice of the peace that was a friend of the family. And it was great. And 20 years later, he's still living.
I do sleep with one eye open, don't trust me.
So that's how we met, in a long, sordid story, but it all just goes together. She said, "I love that. It's beautiful. That's beautiful. Love it. It's amazing. I don't even think they got to the story. Wow, beautiful, Cindy. Very talented." That talking about the cutting boards.
Yeah.
That was back then. Yeah. He should sell them. He needs to fine tune them a little bit. There's a little splinter in the wood, and the things are a little off center. But it was a work. It was really taking it just from a picture. It was great.
Yeah, I had to rearrange things so it didn't quite look like the pictures, but it was close. Mm-hmm. The framing around the measurements is different than it was, and the 2 measuring things at the end are different.
Wow. Oh. If anything happens with our internet, it just started to downpour. Wow. So hopefully everything's good. I mean, it literally just started downpouring.
Guy walking, I'll tell you, he's walking too fast. He ain't gonna, it don't matter. But yeah, the cutting board is made out of cherry. There's 3 pieces of wood that I had to cut down, put them through a planer, sand them down, and glue them up. And I'm happy with it. It came out pretty good.
All right. Susie said that'll be a wonderful sign to have, the one with "You Matter." All that. I agree, Deb. We could sell those cutting boards. Evelyn, thank you so much. Asking people to hit the like button. I'd buy a cutting board or a few for gifts. If you want special orders, please contact me. I sure will. Brian's work is beautiful. I think he could make whatever anyone wants. And she's been to my house. She's seen. I'm sorry you had to go through so much, but glad it made you better. Yeah. It's incredible how different it is.
I'm thankful every day. It's incredible.
So am I.
Yeah.
Ken and I met through Facebook dating. Monday will be 3 years since our first date. We are going back for lunch at Landmark in Sandusky, Ohio. Very nice. Congratulations. Hi, Brenda. You'll have to start it from the beginning because there's been a lot. James and I met through an online dating site too, says Lisa. There's something to be said. I mean, some of it can be really scary. I've met some real winners over the course before I met Brian, but I also met a really good friend who lives in Massachusetts. We did everything together for a very long time until I met Brian and moved away. What a wonderful meeting story. She loved it. You two need to send this script to Hallmark for sure. Yeah, she's into those Hallmark movies like I am. That's wonderful. Yeah. Tissues all around, Debbie says. Beautiful story. Thank you, Jeff. You guys are so lucky to have met and then found out that you were such a pair. We are a pair, that's for sure. I've been waiting on this story, so I will rewind for short. You are not alone, Brenda. A lot. I've been waiting for him to get on here and tell it. He came to me the other day and he said, let's do it. I'm like, what? What? So today I asked him all day, are you okay? You ready for this? Yep, I'm ready. So it's like with the surgery, he had to be ready. That was it. That's all I've been waiting on.
The guinea pig has spoken. Squeak, squeak.
You're a nut.
Like my T-shirt says, I don't need therapy. I just need Looney Tunes.
Why don't you show him your shirt? You're talking about it.
I think.
No, it'll show. I think it'll read right.
That's it.
I don't need therapy. I just need to watch Looney Tunes.
Yep. And trust me, when I'm in the workshop, I've got a DVD player in there, TV. I got my stereo in there, records. And this will send you back 8 tracks, cassettes, DVDs. I got CDs. I mean, I've got them all. And I still have 8 tracks and cassettes. I'm old. I'm old.
So Brenda said, that's what this community does. Everyone tells her story. I'm excited. He had to make up his mind when he's ready. You're right. Debbie said, Brian, you're doing a fabulous job. He is. When Debbie and I were at Hack Your Health, he was left all alone. He went out driving. Now, typically he doesn't drive. Like he was talking about, I do all the driving. But knowing that he can is a good thing because he keeps wanting to stay licensed. And I'm like,
if the reason, if anything happened to her, somebody's got to be able to get out and around. And it depends on the day. I mean, I know my limitations. If I can't do it, I'm not going to do it. And I was a little worried because actually I had a bowling tournament when I went to on that Sunday. On the way home, it was pitch black sky. And I was like, oh, goodness, no. All I could think of was complete downpour. And that might not have been so well. But I was looking at Buc-ee's, which is like 5 minutes away from the house, saying, go sit in the parking lot, go walk through the store for a while if I have to. But, oh, thunder, hello.
I don't know if you guys heard that.
But I made it home before the rain came, so it was a good
thunder
thing.
Just hit big time.
Yeah, so much for sunny days for the next 7 days.
Yeah,
turn your back for a minute, and here we go.
That's crazy.
Yep. I'm glad I put that thing in the garage to paint it.
Yeah. And he does low carb spin. I like that guinea pig. I kind of do too.
Squeak, squeak.
Debbie said, I'm happy you found each other. We're so blessed to have you guys as our friends. Thank you, Debbie. We feel the same way. At least he can drive as I can't. I'm sorry, James. We heard that. It was loud. Whoa, thunder. I agree. It's a fabulous story. It's easy to see how strong your love is. Sometimes. No, it's been great. It's been a great 20 years. And we'll see how far it goes.
Yep. And as for that thunder being loud, wasn't the loudest. I've been working for the post office. I almost got hit 3 times by lightning. That's scary.
That's not thunder. That's
scary.
lightning.
No, lightning and thunder all at once. Well, the thunder shook the truck. The mail truck rocked after one bolt. I was at a house delivering a package, and I was parked in the tree because that's where the mailbox was. And the house across the street had a pond behind it, and that lightning bolt hit the pond right behind the house. The inside of the truck lit up green. I mean, literally green. And that old story that your hair's gonna stand on end, oh yes, it does.
Honey,
It
you
was
don't
major.
have any.
I didn't. The hair on my arms and everything else was. I'll tell you, that was boom, and it was like, holy crap. That was once. A couple of times we were a little close, but not that close. And I remember my granddaughter was in the house once. We had a pool back in New Hampshire, and we had a fountain on that thing was going 20 feet in the air. And I decided to go out and shut it off because lightning probably would have hit the pool with that thing going up.
Mhm.
Put my hand in the water, tested it, leaned over to shut the pool off. Bang, crack. Lightning went pretty close by. Not that close, but close enough. I came back in the house. Grandpa, you're nuts. I went, yeah, it missed me.
Yeah. The craziest thing this man has ever done. We hadn't been together long. I think I had just moved in maybe a week before.
Yeah, maybe.
There was a problem with the outlet up in the bedroom. And he didn't know what circuit it was on that was in the basement. And our bedroom was on the second floor. He takes a screwdriver, sticks it in the outlet. And I'm like,
it worked.
Like, dang, are you trying to kill yourself?
It popped. No biggie. I found it.
My God.
That was the easy way.
He's not the brightest bulb in the pack, I'm telling you.
So I'm missing 5 and 6 pack. About 5 of them.
Look at Debbie's comment. If any of you ever get the chance to play cards with these two, you will be laughing so hard. She comes up, I don't know, not often enough, but I mean, she's busy. She's still working. And we play cards or we play Yahtzee and we laugh so hard. She constantly has to run, you know where, all the time. All the time. It's fun. But yeah, we have a good time. We play games every day, whether it's backgammon or card games or something, usually while we're eating, to slow my eating down, because after bypass surgery years ago, I get full really, really fast if I eat too fast. And then I can't get enough in, and like an hour later, I'm hungry again. It's crazy. That's another story that's already on my channel. Jerry, Deb, we plan on playing cards with them. Cindy will make us look bad. Yes. That's the goal. I like to win. We haven't been doing so good at bowling, so I got to win at cards, It's like,
you're not butt kicked.
Yes. But it's fun. It is fun. Do it. You won't regret it, she says. Oh, it's just too much fun. But anything else, Brian? How do you like it on keto?
It doesn't bother me. I mean, food. It's all food. Steaks. Got the barbecue. Got the Blackstone. Cook it all up and do it all. Matter of fact, when she was gone that weekend, I cooked myself a steak, 3 eggs, and scallops on the Blackstone. And I flipped the eggs over without breaking the yolk. So did pretty good that day.
He sent me.
I sent her the picture and said, "Here's what's for dinner. Here's the lunch."
He does. He sent me a picture of his food, and I shared it with Wendy and them at Hack Your Health and Debbie. I just gotta find it. It's just crazy. Here it is. This is what he ate. There you go. Eggs, scallops, steak. All cooked on the Blackstone. Wendy says, now when you go home, you ask him what he's going to make for you. I said, okay. And I did. And he did. One day I was tired and I was like, we got back from that trip. I was exhausted. Yeah. If you would have just seen my video about Hack Your Health, you know why we were so tired. Brenda said, I like to win. I used to be good at bowling and at playing cards. Got to get back at it. No cars, but cards. I knew what you meant, Jerry. Are there any foods you get excited about, Brian? He likes everything, Evelyn.
Pretty much everything. I mean, when she left to go to Texas, she's like, anything you want. And I'm like, I had to think about it. Didn't say anything. So she came out later the next morning, and I put a bag of keto chow waffle mix, the maple waffle, and she goes, "Maple waffles." I went, "Yeah, breakfast," and they were good.
That was on my video too. This was like something that was left for me when I came out of the bathroom.
I mean,
Hang on. Evelyn, you said we froze. Is it still frozen? Because it's not on our end. Brandon says, yum.
Mhm.
So if somebody can let us know if we're still frozen, that would be great. Because on this end, it looks fine. Nobody's saying anything. No freezing here, Debbie says. Good. You're here.
I mean,
You're good.
I miss
Thank
some
you.
foods, but you know, they're detrimental to my health, and I can live without them. I mean, it's you give and take, and I've pretty much I'd rather feel good and be be better health wise than going back to all that garbage I used to eat. This is a person that can sit down and eat a whole large pizza by himself. As diabetic was not good. Go to the buffet lines at the Chinese place, go up and fill up 5 plates, and that stuff used to kill me. So I miss it, but I don't. I'm better off without it. So I really there's not much I miss. I mean, anything. I mean, Chris cooking Nashville right now. He's cooking up a storm. I mean, the mashed potatoes are great. His pancakes are awesome.
The first time I made those pancakes,
yeah,
he tried them and he said, "Now I hadn't even gotten mine done. Mine were still cooking." He said, "Now these are pancakes."
I mean, we have biscuits and gravy. Can't speak now. The one thing I'm waiting is what the heck is it? Grits. I want to give the grits a try at some point.
That's the first I heard that you even wanted to try them. So now I guess I got to make them.
Now she's gonna make them, but yeah, I really, what I miss, we can cook other ways, so it's okay. I can deal with it. She says I'm pretty lenient, pretty laid back. I really don't hate anything. I mean, there's stuff I won't eat. She knows I won't have them, but we don't need it anymore. Hate bananas, hate peas. Thank goodness they're not on the list.
I used to make casseroles and put peas in them because I loved them. I absolutely loved them. And he'll eat them.
If they were mixed in, that's fine. But as by their own, forget it.
One day I made some waffles, I think. And I put keto chow, peanut butter, and banana. And I didn't tell him. He couldn't taste the banana. Laura Spath says, nothing tastes as good as feeling good feels. That's true. Yeah. I went out and came back in. It's good now. All right. Thank goodness. Typos. It happens all the time, Brenda. So yeah, it was a whirlwind in the beginning with us. And who knew that it would last 20 years and go on strong.
With all the kids living in the house and everything else we had to go through, if that didn't kill us, nothing will.
That's right. We had a 974 square foot house, not counting an unfinished basement. And at one point, there were 13 people living in that house and 3 dogs, one bathroom. And we made it work. I had rules on my refrigerator. Said everybody's going to read them. Everybody needs to follow them, or they need to get out. And they couldn't afford it. They couldn't afford their own places. It was both of my sons, their families, and Brian's daughter. It was tough. We definitely have a blended family. If anybody doesn't know, I have 2 sons. He has 1 daughter. My sons were in their 20s when we met. His daughter was 12. And you want to talk about tears. That child. We had gotten into it at his mom's house. He had gotten into it with her. Oh, my word. No, his mom had made some biscuits, and they were a little dark on the bottom. But Amanda wanted to eat the biscuits. And she cut the bottom off and would eat the rest and leave the rest. And Brian said, if you're going to eat it, you're going to eat it all. And it was a little burnt, and she wouldn't eat it. They got into an argument. And we were back to the house. This was before we got married. And it was in the living room talking with Amanda. I said, I could never, and never would I ever want to try to replace your mother, but someday I'd like to be a mom to you. She had been 2 years without her mother at that point. And we both sat there and cried and hugged and cried and hugged. And Brian's in the other room like, oh my God, what the heck happened? But it was all good. And then he is the most mild-mannered until you make him mad.
Stand clear.
He's very quiet till you make him mad.
Stand clear.
Him and I were doing dishes one night. His daughter was doing her homework, and his parents were there, and his mom was helping his daughter with her homework. And then she decided she was going to talk back to her grandmother. Well, that wasn't going to float. Not on your life. He screamed at her, and I'm looking out the window, washing the dishes. I'm like, what am I getting myself into here? He had never raised his voice before then. And I'm like, oh, no. And he just went off on this child and made her apologize to his mother. And then it happened again. She was supposed to be cleaning the bathroom, the only chore she had, well before anybody else moved in the house. It was just the three of us. And she was just complaining the whole time. And he, again, went off, just yelled at her. And I'm like, oh, goodness. But he has a voice. He just doesn't always use it. Don't ever make him mad. That's all I can say. Don't ever make him mad. Because boy, oh boy, it can be loud. And those were some times, man.
That's a couple of times.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've been good. Everything's good. And the chat is quiet. Mm-hmm. Nobody's talking. They all left us. Mm-hmm. I think they all left us. We're all alone, Brian. We're just rambling on now. Mm-hmm. It's like, whatever. Mm-hmm. So if anyone else is still there, if anyone else has any questions for Brian or myself, thank you, Evelyn. They're just listening to us rambling. If you have any questions, if you want to know anything else, we told you how we met, how quick it was, and everything else. Oh, and we have 6 grandchildren.
Yeah. We'll leave the ghost stories for another time.
Oh, my goodness. If anybody wants to hear about those are fun. Sitting here enjoying you talking. Susie's still here. That was Joe. So, yes, if anybody in here believes in the afterlife and hearing sounds when somebody passes on in your house, or if anybody doesn't believe, I should say, you got to let me know, because Debbie said, yes, he tell the ghost stories. Yes. Mm-hmm. It was crazy. It started before I moved in.
Oh, yeah.
I can't tell those. I wasn't there.
No. It wasn't long afterwards that
after Diana
passed, and my daughter would go to her grandfather's house on Friday, so I could have time to myself. They're more than happy, and I had to get up on Saturday to go to work anyway, once in a while. And used to be into sports and all that stuff. I'm not anymore. I gave that up a while ago. But I was watching a Bruins hockey game right above my desk that I had in the living room. Nobody there, just me. Right behind me, and I mean right behind me, clear as day. Hi, Brian. Her voice. I just about pooped my pants. I walked to the house. I said, who's kidding with me? Turned on every light in the house and was checking for anything. There was nobody there. It was just me. It was just her saying, I'm here. Hello. And from then on, it was like, oh, my word. It was just continual for a long time. Even when she moved in, it was like, oh, my word. she went to move out one night. She was ready for it. 2 in the morning.
Oh, I went down. Oh man. Like I said, our bedroom was on the second floor. The bathroom was the only bathroom was on the first floor. Can you grab him? He's going to start barking. And I went down about 2 in the morning to use the restroom. And I looked outside and I see this white, cloudy figure next to the playhouse that Brian and his late wife had built for their daughter. I couldn't get back up them steps fast enough and get back in bed. I was like, oh, this is crazy. And I told him about it. He said, ooh. And it was just as plain as anything. And here's Max to keep him from barking. Karen says, everyone's listening so contently to your story. So anyway, that was a rough one for me. It was like really weird. And I never believed a lot of things like that would go on until I experienced them myself. And like when I moved in, this room in the house where his late wife had a hospital bed, she pretty much she went from there to the hospital and died. I mean, she basically lost her life in the house. She was still breathing, but you know, his sister was taking care of their cat when him and his daughter went on vacation before I moved in, before we had met. And she couldn't get in that room without knocking, saying, can I come in? And she even asked me, she said, could you open that door? When I got there, she said, could you go in that room? I'm like, yeah, I didn't have any problem. She said, but that's where the cat food was and all that. And she was there to feed the cat, but she could not open that door and it wasn't locked. So when I moved in, all my boxes were in that room until I could get through everything because I didn't have a lot. But in the far corner of that room was a stereo. And Brian and I were in the kitchen playing cards one day. His daughter was in the living room watching TV, and that stereo kicked on really loud and off within seconds. And Amanda, his daughter, came in and sat with us. She said, I didn't do it. She said, was that you? I didn't do it. Nope, we didn't do it. And then it happened again. Well, Brian went in, climbed over the boxes, and unplugged the thing. And that was it for that. Another time, I had gone to, or he was at work, and Amanda was at school, and I was in the shower. And I was just getting out and drying off, and I hear these footsteps outside the kitchen door or the bathroom door. And I'm like, there's nobody in the house. This is nuts. And I grabbed the towel around me and I'm looking out the door and I'm like, nothing. There's nothing going on. And then when I talked to him, he's like, yeah, she walked very heavily footed like that. And that was the way she walked. And I'm like, I'm not going to hurt your daughter. This is what I kept thinking. Your daughter's fine. Whatever. The craziest thing, and I was the only one that would experience this. I could sit in any room in that house, and every once in a while, I would smell cigarette smoke like somebody was sitting right next to me smoking a cigarette. Diana didn't smoke, his late wife, but her mother, who passed away 6 months after she did, was a chain smoker. And I'm like, nobody in our house smoked inside. My son smoked outside. Thank God he has quit since then. But I wouldn't let anybody smoke in the house. And I'm like, and nobody else could smell it, just me. It was crazy. It was so thick, I couldn't hardly breathe. It was that ridiculously thick of smoke that I could smell. It was just nuts.
Yeah.
And then the time Amanda went to Girl Scout camp,
oh my word,
she had gone to Girl Scout camp for 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
And she had half of the basement for her room at the time. And every morning, 6 o'clock, Brian would be up getting ready for work. And the stereo in her room would kick on at a volume of 8 out of 10. First of all, we never let her listen to her music that loud, so it impeded the rest of the house. Her music, that's okay. It's your music. And I'm telling you, every morning, Brian would go downstairs, shut the volume to 0, and turn it off. Every morning for 2 weeks that happened.
The day she came home, it stopped.
Yep.
Not ever
And
again.
when
Man.
we took her to camp, she said she was still calling me Cindy, because this was like in August and we had gotten married in February. We picked her up. She gets in the car. She says, "Hey, Mom." Well, tears. Here they come. It was so sweet. And it's been Mom ever since, you know. She just got married last January.
Yep.
And she got me a real pretty bracelet that says mother and daughter with 2 hearts intertwined. It was really nice. More tears came, of course, but it was really sweet.
That's our story. We're
Oh
sticking
my
to
gosh.
it.
Yep. Evelyn says, Max. Yes, Max is a Tibetan Spaniel.
14 in July.
That's what we're doing. That's right. Joe says, my grandfather used to check all the windows and doors before he would go to bed. After he passed at home, you could still hear the steps and the doors jiggling at night. Exactly.
Yep.
It was really eerie at first. And then it got to be annoying. It's like, Amanda's fine. Leave us alone, just stop. I mean, it was even so much so one day, Amanda had a book for school. And she set it on the dining room table and it disappeared.
Yeah, we went to dinner and it wasn't there. We got
We
back.
searched
6 months.
every inch of the house. Never reoccurred for like 6 months. Reappeared.
We left the house, came back home, and there it was. It was like, oh my word.
It's crazy.
Came out of nowhere.
Debbie said, I've always wanted to hear from Howard. Never did. Howard is her late husband. People's energy can stay for a long time in places. The lights in our upstairs bedroom used to turn on by themselves. Tell them about the crash that you and Jason heard. I was asleep. This is crazy.
Oh, yeah. In the house, there was 2 bedrooms upstairs, and it wasn't a big hallway. It was probably about 8 feet long. It's about midnight. Went upstairs, went to bed. Jason was in his room. He was playing games.
Jason's my son, my younger son.
He started by first hearing somebody knocking on the door. He said, come in. Nobody came in, no answer. And I guess it happened a second time again. He went, nobody's there. Probably about 10 minutes later, I guess, I'm lying awake in bed and I'm staring at the ceiling. And if you ever heard a wine glass hit a fireplace, and I mean hit a fireplace, the bricks and shatter, that's what we heard outside the doors. I opened up the door. He opened up the door. We met in the hallway. I'm like, what was that? He says, you heard that? I said, heck yes. We walked through the house, downstairs, looked at all the windows, nothing broken, nothing falling down, nothing anywhere. Walked outside, checked the street to make sure nobody had thrown a beer bottle on the ground. There was nothing anywhere. Oh, my word. His look was like, okay, I'm going to bed.
That was crazy. I slept through that one. That would have messed with my head. Jeff says, no personal experience, but family members have, and I trust them. It's crazy. Carl's getting creeped out. Sorry. Oh, wow, Cindy, that's wild. It was definitely a wild time. We get spiritual visits here, too, from my deceased husband. The cat sent him to, as planned, he died in our home. Not the details some people see or hear. It's wild. And, a lot of the people that lived with my family, that kids and grandkids, they never experienced much. I mean, Jason had on occasion, like the night with that crystal or the crystal sounding crash, and we had Waterford crystal light covers. I mean, not cheap stuff. And thank goodness nothing fell, because whew. And that was the first thing they looked at, because right at the top of the stairs was one of those. Yeah. It was nuts.
Supposedly Charlie had saw something too, Malia said, but he won't up to it.
No, he won't.
No, it's just life. I mean, so be it.
Yeah, Brian's cat sensed her one time, and made a beeline for the stairs and went upstairs.
Oh, a couple of times. She couldn't get out of the way fast enough. Matter of fact, she didn't even make it up the stairs. She hit the stairs head first. She couldn't get out of the way. Oh, my word. Funny. I was laughing my head off. I'm like, you dumb cat.
Now there's cat lovers in here.
She wasn't too smart.
But yeah, that was crazy times. That, and even now, and I just recorded something. I'm gonna put it in my video. Debbie, listen to this because you have one of these. When we bought this house, there was a trash can that is it's battery operated, and it's just motion censored. So if you go near it, it opens. This thing's starting to open and close by itself, and nobody's around. I'm like, all right. So last night we were eating dinner, and it started. I said, just stop it. I yelled, and it stopped. It was crazy. It was the craziest thing. But yeah, it's just why? Nobody needed to follow us here. We're good. It was just nuts. So anyway, any last thing you might want somebody to know of all the experience you've been through before, during, and during keto, or how you think it has improved your health? He said he didn't have weight to lose, really, but he did lose about 20 pounds.
I'm down to 142 right now, and that's about as low as I'm going to go. Been that way for about 3 weeks now. I would say if anybody doesn't believe, it can work, find a way to get in touch with me. I'll talk to them. I'll tell them straight out what it does and what it's done. It's hard, though, because, as you know, you tell people, but you can lead them to the water, but you can't make them drink. They don't want to do it. They're not, you have to be strong to give up stuff and start anew. And let's face it, you go into the grocery store and the first thing you see is all the garbage. You walk right through the bakery, forget it, you're done. I mean, you can smell everything. But, if anybody has any questions and wants to know a little bit about it, feel free to send them. We can answer questions and help them through it.
Yeah, please share the video, especially with people that are diabetic or have any kind of illness and they're not sure about keto. Or, like I said, a lot of diabetics talk about, their fear of ketosis because of ketoacidosis, and they are just so totally different things. It's just mind-boggling to me that people don't know this and doctors aren't explaining this, or nutritionists that are supposed to be working with, the endocrinologist office with these patients. And like the old one, like he was saying in New Hampshire, telling him he needs to eat carbs. No, you don't. And, he finally stood up to him, and that's when his A1C was 7.9, and the doctor was okay with that. I don't get it. I didn't get it. I wanted to talk to him so badly, and that was around the time of the big C, and I wasn't allowed in. It was just him that could go in.
Pretty much stood my ground. Yeah. Don't miss that.
I'm not sure what you meant. What you mean, Lisa? But yeah, it's IWOM. I don't know. But yeah, it's just crazy. The the medical system really needs to get moving on this. I wonder, is that why cats get the zoomies? Probably so. But we have been at this for almost an hour and a half now.
Oh, wow.
And you made it through it.
Yeah, you kept me going. I can't shut up.
It's okay. It's okay.
All right, the guinea pig has spoken. The guinea pig is tired. He wants to go back to his cage. I need water.
I need my wood chip.
I need food. Squeak, squeak, squeak.
Sorry, it's not a problem, Lisa. I've done that many times. The sick care system, you mean? It's just crazy. This was a delightful talk. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate everybody spending their Friday nights with us. This has been long awaited by many, and including me, because I knew he had a story, and just getting him to tell it. Because I've been talking pieces about it all the time, but people say you need the why that makes you cry to keep on going. That's mine. What's your why to keep you going, to keep you motivated?
You helped me through it. Somebody there for me in case I fall apart.
I've done you.
That. I've done it a couple of times, and it's hard, but I get through it. And you see me pop right back about an hour later, I'm good to go.
Yep.
But for that hour, I just need somebody to give me a hug and hold me until
I love you.
Love you too.
Anyway, everybody have a great night. I hope Brian comes back on soon. We'll see if he has anything to talk about. Thanks for a wonderful evening. Thank you, Joe, for joining us. It's the only time we get to talk with friends and spend time with them since we have no friends here. Oh, Lisa, I'm so sorry. And Evelyn. Anyhow, everybody have a great night. And you be well also. Karen, thanks so much for sharing your story. You two are an amazing pair. Next time, don't wait so long. I enjoyed every minute. Blessed to know you. And I feel the same. You and your sister are the best, as is my sister. Brian, you are a great taste tester. My guinea pig. He has no taste buds, I swear. He doesn't.
It's all good.
I could put a pile of dog food in front of him and tell him I cooked it. He'd probably say it was good.
You burnt the bacon to a crisp. I loved it.
Oh, I won't eat burnt bacon, but it doesn't go to waste because
max it out. Put a dent in that.
Yeah, they do. Anyway, everyone have a good night, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.